What's up, y'all? My name is Armon Patrick.
My name is Hozell, and me and Armon have been friends. I don't know how long it's been. 10 years. Let's just say 10. We'll round it off to good. 10 years. Some of my favorite memories of our friendship and Armand got really tight at the church, St. Stephen Missionary Baptist Church. It's kind of weird because he was a student of mine, and I was like something like a teacher, but not really. Me and Armand, we got kind of close mostly around a youth Bible study that I was leading at that time. And sometimes he'd be like the only one. And I'd just be like, what you want to talk about? And we'd just talk about whatever. And we just got to be really cool behind that.
We would have these gatherings at my church called the Men and Boys Outing. So we would get together, all the men and the boys from the church, and spend time together, have opportunity for connection, relationship, mentorship. And that was kind of one of my first interactions with Hozell was at that event. And he, in his very unique way, connected by just sharing about different conversations around topics that pertain to television shows and how that portrays and talks about our culture. And at first, I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was kind of wild, kind of out of left field. It was strange. I hadn't had someone, use our television or like our shows in that way to talk about our society or life, but it intrigued me. Fast forward, as he got more involved as our youth pastor, my youth pastor at my church, our relationship grew, especially during the times when we would have a Bible study. There were many nights that we just got time together one-on-one, not because it was necessarily designed that way, but I think just in God's sovereignty and his kindness and providence, we were able to have intentional time to just talk about various topics. Where I was at as a junior and senior in high school, what my goals were, what I was striving for, how I, look at my worldview and vice versa, kind of just chopping up with him about those things. It was really profound for me and something I really appreciated from him is taking the time to just talk about where we're at.
Oh, and Tanzania, I can't leave that out yet. Me and Armand traveled to Tanzania in 2018. We did a lot of mission work over there. We helped to build a church. Worked with a big old group of kids. It was like 3,000 kids that were able to do kind of like a VBS for over in Tanzania. So that's definitely one of the top memories. And we were roommates hiding from the mosquitoes and trying not to catch malaria and all that stuff. So yeah, man, that was a good time.
Travel across the world, going to Tanzania. We were able to serve a long-term missionary that we have a strong relationship with and help him ministering to a people group out there and helping them understand the gospel, develop discipleship, develop leaders, and just have the opportunity to go with Hozell. Yeah, just serve side by side, as Philippians 1 talks about, how Paul talks about living a life that is worthy of the gospel and serving one another together as one body, as one spirit, and one faith for people to come to know Jesus. And that was some opportunity. And that kind of springboarded, I think, the foundation of us even just looking at how are ways that we can be impactful at home? How are ways that we can be intentional at home, at our church, amongst our peers, amongst our people that we're serving in our context?
And that's one of the core memories, trying to help him decide how he's going to get into Cal Baptist and kind of helping him to forge his path educationally, academically, just based on some of the stuff that I had experienced. So I was able to kind of give him some advice. And I can honestly say that one of the good memories that I really have now that I'm thinking about it is, man, me and Armand was going to work during the pandemic on a lot of these suspected racists. And, I got to really see him kind of step into his own and shine in his own way and kind of show some of his leadership and how people are attracted to him, not necessarily in a romantic way, anything like that, but just that people trust his judgment, they trust his leadership and his guidance. And some of the events during the pandemic, especially regarding social issues on the campus of Cal Baptist, Armand was instrumental in helping to guide groups of people through some of those times. And so it was cool to see him, doing this thing.
On the fact that him and I even had the opportunity to go to college together at CBU, Lanza, baby. was a blessing. He being a year ahead of me and just talking me through like what does it look like to study theology, to review it in a more academic setting was really profound for me. So much to the point that it helped me to take the bold step of saying, you know what, like I want to study this also because I want to be a force in the kingdom, and doesn't necessarily always mean that everybody has to go to higher education or going to a master's program to do it. But I found it to be of utmost importance in seeing how Hozell reflected that and wanted to use his strengths for the good of those who either don't know Jesus or know Jesus and want to grow in their knowledge and ability to serve in a capacity that makes sense in their context. It was awesome to see. And so that was something that I think about. I think about some of our conversations over COVID as we were navigating unprecedented times in our world. I feel like we say that a lot, but especially at that time, there's a lot of things happening, and it helped us, you know, especially when the world was kind of on pause, school was kind of in flux, like for us to just have really raw conversations. Seeing him be an advocate for people, something that I admire about him is desire to be an active Christian in the community, whether that's in government, in community, in church, in schools, doesn't matter. Dude is active in life. So yeah, those are some things that I think about as far as our memories go.
What lessons has this relationship taught me about friendship? You may expect that people who are younger than you, because Armand's kind of like a brother, like a kind of like a little brother, little cousin kind of situation, but it's like he's a peer, man. This dude, he's sharp, man. He kind of keeps me grounded, and keeps me kind of focused, and he's just a wise dude. It's crazy. So it's like wisdom comes from all kind of places, and you can't just rule people out based on whether or not you believe that they know something or don't know something according to their age or their youth. Like Armand's turned out to be literally a gentleman and a scholar, man. I gotta give him his respect.
I think about iron sharpening iron. You know, he's somebody who I think is extremely intelligent, extremely wise, and always was willing to ask me questions that maybe I hadn't thought about before. Whether that's to, you know, probe and prod, what are the things that I think about or consider in terms of interacting or navigating the world or navigating people in the various Christian circles that we might reside in? How do I think about those things? Could be opportunities I could utilize my gifts for the good of others and the glory of God. Like, how can I be intentional about that? In my gifts of trying to be an encourager, in my gifts of trying to push people to be the best version of themselves, to be who God desires for them to be. Hozell really, really does do that. And by him being intentional about that, it's helped me grow in courage, helped me grow in boldness. Because he's one of the boldest people I know. He speaks truth, he speaks life, and he speaks with it with an unapologetic attitude, not with arrogance or pride, but with humility and confidence that comes from the Lord. And so I think it's taught me to never be afraid to speak life and have real, honest, and raw conversations. Because that's what relationships are founded on, is honesty, vulnerability, and commitment to helping the other grow, help the other be the best person that God has called them to be.
What has this friendship taught me about God and living a life of faith? Armand's a really grounded dude, like, and even in the midst of the craziness that he was going through, you know, like in high school years or whatever the case may be, Armand has stood out, especially among some of the other people who grew up in the church at the same time he was there, as far as like his spirituality, like, continued to grow. He didn't just like leave church when things kind of weren't working his way and, you know, come up with the reasons why he couldn't continue on. He really, he never gave up. He kept finding ways to bounce back, even in the midst of some of the frustrations or some of the issues that he was having while he was still is growing in his faith. But he always handled it like with class. He never went out sideways, never burnt nothing down, went crazy. And even as a coworker, he was always on point. He had to navigate through some crazy times, especially working up there with me, but he's still here. He made it. He survived. We good. So yeah, living a life of faith. One thing I learned from him, if nothing else, is just to keep pursuing what God wants you to do and stay proactive in your walk.
It's helped me grow in my faith as I continue to matriculate through CBU and undergrad, being involved in our Black Student Union, helping other people to recognize the influence that they have, the salt and light that they are able to present on behalf of the Lord and in our classrooms. There's so many different conversations that we had amongst peers, amongst staff, professors, that I was able to have because of the battery pack that he's able to instill in me to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Because without uncomfortability, change doesn't happen and growth doesn't happen. And it's obviously in the sanctification and our growth that through suffering, through challenge, that we not only count it joy, but that God is using it to refine us, to shape us, to mold us to be more like him. And so Hozell has helped me to appreciate and lean into those times more than maybe I otherwise would when I was navigating things with our classes, navigating things with my health, navigating relational changes or dynamics. He really helped me to lean into seasons where maybe things aren't maybe always as clear or maybe aren't always as comfortable as I would like them to be, but knowing God is using it for my good and for his glory.
And if I could tell my friend Armon anything right now, what would I say? Bro, do what you doing, bro. You really doing what you supposed to be doing. You have developed, bro, into a really good person. There's not a lot of good people out here, but you definitely one of the few. And man, you setting a good example for the world. You're building a prosperous and just a wonderful life for yourself. And man, the world is blessed to have you, bro. So stay doing what you're doing. Keep building, keep growing, and just be you, man. Just be you.
I would just say thank you. Thank you for being a brother to me. Thank you for being somebody that leads not just in the church and being a pastor, but leads as a father, that leads as a husband, that leads as a friend. And in the community, he's exposed me to ways in which we can reflect our faith more practically, and that I'm very much appreciative of, whether it's talking about reparations, talking about justice, whether it's instilling confidence in others, helping them grow along in their faith, whether it's in understanding the word more, or being bold and sharing what they know. Because as Hozell often says, you gotta go hard. We gotta go hard and we gotta make sure that the light that we're spreading was able to have lasting impact, because ultimately the things that last are eternal. That's all that matters at the end of the day. So I just want to say thank you to him for that, and I love him, and I'm excited to continue to go to war with him each and every day. Grace and peace, y'all.